started lineup today, we've actually got like the Bollywood annals with us. You know, because when you look at actually the history of how cinema should be made, people who've been able to give direction to so many people that were out there in the wilderness. अगर आज लोग बात करते हैं, you know, this person has come from the outside. It is because of two individuals sitting in this group here that gave the chance to so many of those kind of people. And whenever I meet this gentleman here, I always, you know, there are two individuals who I always feel that are we qualified enough to speak in front of this person? One is Mr. Bachchan and one is Bhatt Saab. Thank you, sir. For
Oh my God.
Always.
That's scary. That kind of deification is something I want to go and fucking sit on the ground. Let's have the interview from here.
My camera is having a heart attack because he's probably lost you in the frame right now.
Only your face is probably
I detest these elevated positions that people are attributed to, and they willingly lap it up, pretending, oh, it doesn't matter.
But it's the truth. And we're going to give Puneet right here, brother. Thank you so much for joining me. Right. Somebody also who is going to have the same words to say about Bhatt Saab. Vikram sir, thank you so much. One of the most prolific, not filmmakers, content creators in all of Bollyland. Whenever somebody is doing something and making something in whatever medium, it's Vikram Bhatt. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.
Akshay, brother, thank you so much for joining me. Your hair looks exactly like not a soul out of place over there, man. Well done with that.
There's a lovely guy named Rishi back here.
He's done a brilliant job.
He whipped it up, so it's usually not so kept together.
And somebody who we're meeting for the first time, the director of Acharya, Karishma, thank you so much for joining me. You're in the middle of some very different people who you've met over the period of time. Before I go into any, you know, discussion about the film, when you meet Bhatt Saab for the first time, like all of us have, you know, like this discussion. We want to like first write down notes. Were you taking down notes as well? Because you're like sitting, okay, I'm also coming from a different finance bit, but now is Bhatt Saab going to give notes? Did that happen to you?
No, actually, it was completely different for me because when I first met Sir, for me it was like a shocking moment. Like I froze.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, am I actually looking at him? I mean, he's been a legend in the industry.
True.
And I have grown up watching all the films, and I was like, I had no words. So for me to actually believe that I'm standing here and I can hear words from Sir coming towards me and I can hear those sounds, I was like, oh my God, I do not have time to note down anything. I was like, gone.
I know what you mean, but the first 5 minutes with him can be quite overwhelming. But I'm also overwhelmed with the amount of content that you churn out, Vikram sir. You know, it's sometimes what happens is when you look at box office numbers and, you know, reality and fiction have reached a stage in the Hindi film industry, much more than any other industry. I've actually been traveling quite a bit. I've realized that, you know, people will not let go. It's a lot like cricket. You know, in cricket, even the Indian public will not let go of your past record. So no matter how you perform, in India only, we have giants that refuse to retire or refuse to go away. You've been someone who's been very mathematical with the business. As Bhatt Saab used to always tell us, you know, you make a film in 100 crores, you've got to make 200 to sort of recover money. You make a film in 20, you're going to have a super hit every time. Is that your philosophy with all the prolific content that you keep churning out?
So, let me quickly take you to a tour of my head.
Yeah.
For me, it's just ideas and ways to make the ideas come alive, which is probably why I cannot wait for big stars. Because when you have an idea, you want to make it now. You want to make it yesterday.
Yeah.
So in the lockdown, I had the idea for a radio show that's like a film. And then I have ideas for OTTs. Yeah. Then in the OTTs, I have ideas for various kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, a storyteller is a storyteller. And it doesn't matter where you have to tell a story. I'm telling you a story right now.
True.
And I can be telling that on a radio station. I can be telling that on television, on screen. I don't think for me, no medium is small or big. I am not into that game ke film ko television nahi karna chahiye, television ko OTT nahi karna chahiye. They are just mediums, and they give you the opportunity to do different stuff. And I am an idea man.
You know, Akshay, इनकी reputation है जो साथ में रहती है. It's like a bank balance, है ना? That fixed deposit is there. लेकिन जब एक एक्टर को देखना पड़ता है, you're also looking at कि मेरा past record, अब क्या मेरा past record इस्तेमाल किया जा सकता है? Is it currency that I can utilize everywhere? You know, so sometimes they don't work, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. I think you're one of the unsung, heroes in Bollywood and online as well that has actually been doing some incredible work in the last 4-5 years, maybe even longer. But I think sometimes now with the OTT world, it's much easier to sort of reach a much wider audience. But do you think that film is still very tough to crack to win an audience over?
That's, well, thank you. That's a wonderful introduction. I appreciate that. I mean, I've been just kind of hammering away. I'm an actor, so जो मुझे लगता था interesting किरदार मैं करता था. And I never felt entitled in any way कि, it should be this platform or that platform, it should be this film or that film. I just kept working. And, I do see your point though.
Yeah.
I do see, and I'll sum it up for you even better. It's because I haven't given a box office hit that I don't actually have that, avenue that you're talking about. Which it's an art made for commerce. I totally understand why those, those parameters exist. Films are tough to crack because they were always sort of, there was a bandish on them. एक दायरा था उनका कि जो मतलब 4 लोग थे जो फिल्म बनाते थे, बाकी सब मतलब दूसरा काम करते थे.
ये दूसरे यही थे जो हमें मौका देते थे.
बिल्कुल आज भी वैसा ही है. That's why I'm sitting here with you. Otherwise I wouldn't be. Maybe I'd be doing a web series somewhere. So I think that. Which is why this film, actually, to sum it up, I mean, this is the kind, they make heartland movies. They make films that touch the masses.
Correct.
My web series, sure, they've been watched by tons of people and it got recognition, but I think films like this really reach and penetrate in India that we don't even know sitting here in Bombay. So to have that audience is a real, that's the real audience. So that's
Actually,
why,
he's somebody who knows the real audience also,
Absolutely.
Because when you make music
Yeah.
for television for over a long period of time, I came from a television background as well. The reach I remember that a Doordarshan had, nobody could touch.
Yeah, so true.
And you went everywhere, they just couldn't touch it.
Yeah.
To crack, same with you, brother. Also, जब आपको crack करना होता है, you're looking at an audience which has a attention span of 15 seconds now for music. अगर 5 सेकंड में उनको रील में मजा नहीं आया तो बड़ी प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है. And that's the truth. पहले हुक सॉन्ग के 2 शब्द होते थे. अब literally I have seen music composers not even play the hook. They didn't play the reel, and if the reel is worked, that means it's worked. Correct. Ali Zafar, after 11 years, has been rediscovered by India. Because of Jhoom Jhoom, and he's loving it. Yeah. But my point is that it took a reel to sort of rediscover. For a music composer, how insecure does that make you feel कि आप 3.5 मिनट का गाना बना रहे हैं और वो अगर 15 सेकंड नहीं चले तो खत्म?
बिल्कुल खत्म. मुझे लगता है सबसे ज़्यादा शब्दों पे अगर हम उस पर ध्यान दें तो गाना हिट हो सकता है. यही एक तरीका है गाने को हिट कराने का कि यार उसको इतना अच्छा लिखो कि वो एक बड़ी आसान सी बात है. और भट्ट साहब के गाने जिस तरह के हम लोगों ने सुने बचपन से, बहुत आसान शब्द में वो बात बोलते थे जो लोगों के दिलों को धड़काया. बेसिकली मुझसे भट्ट साहब एक दिन पूछ रहे थे कि व्हाट इज़ द सारांश ऑफ दिस मैन बेसिकली. तो मैं बोला सर आपका सारांश क्या है, आपने लोगों के दिलों को धड़काया है और वो इतनी आसान बात पे धड़काया है कि हम भी आज 90s के गाने फील करते हैं, हमारे पापा के समय के गाने, बट हमें भी वो सुनने का मन करता है, हम लोग आज भी सुनते हैं. तो गाने को जितना इजी लिखा जाएगा वो उतना जल्दी हिट होगा, मुझे ऐसा लगता है.
हर बार सारे गाने तो हिट होते हैं. But when you look at the current industry, sir, 15 seconds is valid for a song. Is the same thing valid for a film and for a, is the attention time taken to grab the audience? Has that reduced? I mean, do you need to make it quicker, tighter, all these things as a writer, as a maker? Is that now crossing your mind much more than it did earlier?
I would like to give you a compliment. I love this conversation. I find that your level of entering the conversation is really, really relevant to the times where we live, and it's so refreshing to hear that.
Yeah.
So thank you for making the conversation real. It's going to be real for the viewers because it's real for us. Yes, time poverty. I think time poverty is a problem. There is content pouring out of the walls, and how do you grab people's attention? That is the mother of all questions, and that is every entertainer everywhere in the world at this very moment is sitting down and asking, how do we generate that idea which has a punchline, where we grab the person by his jugular right in the first 5 seconds, and you don't let him go, because they ain't going to give you the luxury of building up and warming up, and then you are going to make a point. It's an impatient generation out there. They write our destinies. But with all said and done, no matter how many tricks you use, all your razzmatazz, all your wizardry, if you don't have something to say, which is life-affirming, which has sustained mankind through the centuries, it's not going to work. And I'm very happy that we in Judaa Hoke have done that. We have brought India back into India. India had disappeared from the Indian films. Exactly. And suddenly everybody is waking up and telling us, oh, you must make movies for the people of India. Oh, guys, we were always making, you said, now please turn your gaze and make it for the NRI audience or for the those guys there who come in their limousines and in their Mercedes and make movies and their tastes are sophisticated. We went to a cinema hall and till we heard a whistle, we were not happy. True. Because गाना शुरू होता है तो सीटी नहीं बजे तो लगता है मौत हो गई बिल्कुल. So I feel that it is so refreshing to see movies in the cinema hall where the people of my country, their sweat, their presence, their eyes, they just are so generous with their praise, not held back. Even when I go back, Vikram, even in Earth, which was supposed to be in the middle of the road film, when the path-breaking dialogue came that if I was in your place, would you take me back? The claps came in Plaza Cinema from the stalls, not the balcony. The people whom you look down upon, you think they don't understand, they understand more. They know more about storytelling. This country existed by the oral tradition. Even you don't need written word. There's a pre-literate society which has survived for centuries. A Mahabharata, a Ramayana, the Buddhist scriptures, the Jain scriptures. It was all oral. And you had to mesmerize people and hold them around the campfire. And we're having a tough time with all of us to do it with all the tools here. I think so. I think the mother of all solutions, if I may suggest to people in my fraternity, is let's connect with the people of my country. If you're saying that the South is now inching miles ahead, it is because they have never moved their target audience. Their target audience is prime time, 9 o'clock, Star Plus.
Yeah. I think it works. You've got to break it down to the simplicity of it. You go into the night intrigue always, whenever you have a Vikram Bhatt film, because it's all about what is the little ghost that is hiding inside of you. It's almost like, he preys and plays on the fears of people. But, of course, we've got a star-studded lineup today. The great Bhatt sir with us. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out the time. You're much more busier now in personal as well as professional life, as the whole world knows. So congratulations, first of all, on many, many issues. We have not met after that. So congratulations on impending good news also within the family, which is great.
I'm rehearsing for the role of a grandfather.
Yeah, which is going to be, which is actually scary because...
Scary. Hardly had you recovered from the shock of a wizard, at home. Suddenly, from where has this child come in my home? And suddenly she bloomed and became something else. And then this child is becoming a mother. Life.
But
life.
she's also at the peak of her powers. I met an astrologer recently. He said that 22 is her year, and he told me this November 21. Long time back. So I'll send you that clip actually. When I met Alia, I'd actually told her this. This is the clip. And then she said, Papa had sent me this voice note to say that I've done the best in Gangubai. And it all matched. And now we're sitting 6 months later, a few months later.
Oh my God, she sent that too?
Yes, of course. She's made me hear the voice note. And she saw that. So I saw that. So well done there. We hit 100 crores. Is Vikram Bhatt going to be looking at 100 crores for his film? That's not the question. The question is what Vikram Bhatt does to save the 100 crores to make the film. That is what I want to talk about. Of course, Puneet, Karishma, who will be very happy that he does save that kind of money. Akshay, yes, sir. But you are literally a producer's delight. And have you always been like that? From the time, whether it's a dubbing, it's the edit, it's all that, it's how Bhatt sir was talking about the pulse.
Flop films made money.
Yeah, it's true. But you had the pulse, those 5 seconds, were you always, somebody was able to stay away from your films and be objective about it?
So, today is Guru Purnima, first of all.
Right.
And I'm sitting here with my Guru.
Yes.
So, there can be no other greater joy for me. And let me say this before I answer your question, that Judaa Hoke is a film that has been made for my Guru. because he looked at me and he said, Vikram, I want you to make a film that I am proud of and I can show the world and that you have to do for me. It takes pretty honestly and openly from Saransh, which is my favorite film of Bosses. So to answer your question, we trained with him, and he always made films for little.
Yes.
So-
Which made a lot.
Which made a lot.
Yeah,
so I
that's-
remember I used to be an assistant to Shekhar Kapoor
Right.
before I became an assistant to Boss. So we used to shoot one scene over 2 days, and So I know Boss because my dad used to always work with him. So I know he's very fast.
Yeah.
So I said, एक दिन में शायद कर देंगे.
Huh.
So I had planned around 2 scenes, which he finished by lunch. And I was in a panic because I hadn't called the actors and the location is there. And Mukesh is calling him and said, 2 scenes to khatam ho gaye, tera dusra kaun hai? And I am begging the actor who's going to Lonavala that turn the car around because it's not tomorrow, it's today. And it's right now. And then of course, for years and years and years, we trained under him. And he used to say that जब पिक्चर रिलीज हो तो प्रोड्यूसर के घर में गाड़ी या फ्रिज आना चाहिए, भले कुछ ना हो. तो ये जो उनकी ट्रेनिंग है वो याद रही, that if you want to make very different ideas, make them in a budget.
Yes.
Because if you make, you will not be allowed to make really, I'm using the word experimental with a lot of caution here.
Yeah.
But you will not be allowed to make different content if you're going to risk a lot of money.
It's true. And rightly so also, because you're not making it, unless you truly make a film with your own money, then it's fine. Then you may burn as much as you choose. But otherwise if you're putting somebody else's money and the finances money on the line, it's about time that you actually did think about that. You had an interesting, connection with these kind of films. Horror in India is considered to be very highly profitable because you need the concept more than sometimes you need an artist. Which was the one time when I remember watching a Brad Pitt film, which was World War Z, which made money. It was the first time I'd seen a star. Of course, Tom Cruise had tried that with Transylvania and Dracula. But World War Z was a purely bred, film which made a lot of money, but it wasn't a Resident Evil. They never made part 2 of it. Is there a reason why, as actors also, that you enjoy, say, I've done horror also. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's very tiresome because you're shooting all night. You've done quite a bit of the Raz kind of feel. Is there like a special connection with that as well?
I think that horror grows the imagination for actors more than most genres do. So I always find it like a test because it's usually done in VFX. The director will tell you there's a sound here, and then this happens and that happens. So it's like a practice ground for an actor more so than other genres might be. You also rely heavily on dialogue in other places like a crutch. Here a lot of stuff is done in the expression, in a feel, and inwardly, and if it's not happening internally, it's never going to happen on the outside. So I always find it like a way to stretch that's really what I've been after all these years, is to be the best possible actor I can be. I haven't looked at my career from a place of badi gaadi or bada ghar or bade fame or ye sab. So I always that's why I go off and do things that I just find interesting, and I mean, horror with the Horror King is like, I think that's the joy.
Burger King.
We got to brand you like that,
But sound is very important. I remember doing a film where the soundtrack didn't give any space. There was no silence. I remember speaking to Ram Gopal Verma sir also, and he said, I remember when I watched Booth, the sound of the ting, ting was, the doorbell also used to be that. So if I watched it on silent, it's zero, no fear. Sir, for a horror film, how important is getting the sound design right?
He's got it right in this film.
Yeah.
In fact, he used to first send me to do the reels, and I would give my best to it.
Yeah.
And then he would come and very respectfully say, "Boss, go, I'll do it. I'll just tweak it a little." And yesterday when I saw the final copy, I said, "Oh my God, this guy has completely transformed what I had okayed and added a dimension." That's why I say life improves on life. He is a contemporary voice. He's the relevant voice. He is rooted in the world cinema. He has the thirst. and he has the technical wizardry. He has the technical skill which I was impoverished of. So he adds to the content dimensions which are inconceivable. So I'm telling the generation out there, you have a tough guy here to contend with because he knows not only the craft of storytelling, not only has he roughed it out from the grassroots, survived so many harsh winters of the heart and of the career, and walked through so many deserts and still survived, and then birthed a completely new idiom of his own. It's very difficult to be. I'm here for 53 years, he's here for 35 years. Wow. It's not easy, it's very difficult to survive a weekend here. And
It's crazy, sir. Between the two of you, there's almost 100 years of cinema.
And I think,
Can you imagine 100 years of cinema sitting right next to us? Oh my God.
and yet we feel we are like savages looking at the mirror for the first time. We don't know a damn thing. But when you have a product like Judaa Hoke, it leaves you the sense of elation, and it's not something which you whip it up because you can deal with reversals. I mean, as Muhammad Ali says, a heavyweight champion can be that guy who can take maximum amount of beating.
True.
So we have two guys here who have taken maximum amount of beating, and we are getting ready for, before you count us out, we are back on our 2 feet. So I think what Vikram has managed to do is, in the second decade of the 21st century, is birthed a new idiom of his own, and he has gone into his depths and pulled out of his heart stories which will appeal to the human race all through time, because loving, living, dying are the stuff that people are engaged with all the time. And their concern for retaining that love and the quest for permanence. And that's what Judaa Hoke is all about.
Yeah, I love how you put it in those beautiful words, because it does, whenever I see Vikram sir's films also, I've always seen that there's enough, couple of words that you said also, sir. Producer ke ghar pe gaadi aur fridge aani chahiye. And it's true with all your films. I remember one film with Mimo. We were all shocked how much money it made. And I was watching it, and I think that you started the era of the 3D.
It's a lovely film. It's one of my favorite films.
बहुत, sir, fridge घर आ गया था, sir. As a producer, you must be very happy जब
It was a great story.
track record देखते हो ना, when you see a track record of a director, as a producer, you'll think two things. Over budget नहीं जानी चाहिए. And let's be honest about it. Let's have a discussion where a lot of the times, producer का मतलब इंडिया में, आप वहाँ बैठिए please. Arrange कीजिए ये please. ये चाहिए हमें. It doesn't work the other way around where so many times producer told me, यार check मैं लिख रहा हूँ, but I feel like sir, ये चलते रहता है. You know, has that changed now in the industry a little bit at least?
See, I can only tell you about Sir because Sir has, जैसे we just discussed, it's been 100 years since they are there. They're the legend of the industry now. So even if they tell the producer कि ठीक है आप बाहर जाओ, producer will be like हाँ sir आप संभाल लो, because we know that's been 100 years. So with the budget, I will not talk about the budget, but I will tell you that अभी तक इस industry में nobody's been able to crack that horror genre
of course.
which Sir has been able to crack. So आज तक ऐसी कोई फिल्म नहीं आई है जिसमें रोमांस और हॉरर इतना ब्यूटीफुली पोर्ट्रे किया है. एंड आई थिंक बैक टू बैक जो भी फिल्म्स है ना, all of them have been a blockbuster because of that thing that Sir is able to crack every time.
Yeah, it's called ROI. Sir is Mr. Return on Investment. Yeah. It works very well for everyone.
ROI is the word.
Is the number one thing even for you. And even for a horror film for you, brother, to crack music, you know, यहाँ पे love angle आ गया तो it's become easy for you. But even otherwise, it's a very delicate balance between background score and music. Dono, you know, sometimes it can overpower. Of course, if you have a love angle, it makes it easier. But otherwise, for you also, you've done background score. You understand it also. Not maybe even for film, for television and all. How difficult is it to crack a horror code?
इसके कल इंटरवल में इसका बैकग्राउंड स्कोर हम हो रहा था. हाँ, ये और वो प्लॉट से कनेक्टेड था. और that was the triumph. कि वो प्लॉट से कनेक्टेड जो एक होता है साउंड, जब वो लोगों के ज़बान पे आ जाता है, गाना तो है, गाने तो गाते हैं लोग, मगर बैकग्राउंड स्कोर जो है एक यूनानिमसली लोग जो हैं उसको गा रहे थे.
Correct.
So that is what you have to
Victory हो
do.
गई.
हाँ, ये
What happened? Interval के बाद हम सब चाय कॉफी वहाँ पे सब मैं सुन रहा हूँ हम कर रहे हैं. I'm like, कि गाना भी गा लो कोई. हम कर रहे हैं और फिर मैं भी हम करने लगा और फिर मैं सबको बता रहा हूँ मैंने बनाया.
It works. It's very tough to crack background score.
नहीं ये बहुत अच्छा है मैंने बनाया भाई.
A lot of people actually-
हम
Closing words from you, Vikram sir. You know, so many expectations always there. It's very insecure. I've never seen the industry more insecure. You know, I've seen the swag change for actors. I've seen.
Lovely.
Yeah. Well,
Thank God for that.
you all would have faced that a lot more. But I've also seen people being totally unsure, even about promotions. How much is too much? How much is too little? How many screens should we get? Which shows should we get? Do you think that this is going to continue for a while? And will there, you know, when people were saying it very casually, a hybrid version of OTT and cinema आएगा. अब कुछ लोगों की तो दुकान totally बंद हो गई OTT पर. But is it going to be as profitable to come just on OTT, or will we have to work out a way where both have to survive in a metro city like Mumbai? Because if a Hindi film doesn't work in Mumbai, it doesn't matter if it works in Trivandrum or Delhi or anywhere, it has to work in these circuits here. Do you see a way out?
See, there is no short answer for this, but I'll try to make it as short as possible. There was a beautiful moment in Richard Attenborough's Gandhi where Jawaharlal Nehru used to always come in a suit to meet him. And then one day he came in a khadi kurta and a topi. And Gandhi smiled at him and he said, "I'm beginning to get to know you," he said. That's how I feel about Akshay, actually. He comes from a space where he wears a suit. And I saw him transform through the film from being a person in a suit to a person who understood that. And that journey of his, which took the amount of film space, is been my journey on a longer kind of road. Let's be very honest, I have not had a big hit for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone who pretends to not hear the sounds and the voices around me. But Judaa Hoke bhi, I can say proudly that I am very back. And I have realized that if you cannot make a film where you can't blow your own trumpet, then you should not make that film.
Right.
And to answer your question more succinctly, there is no OTT, there is no cinema. There's just one audience. We have seen very big OTTs here panicking because they reduce the price of subscription but still subscribe to the ones who can afford millions. There is no point in reducing subscription if you cannot make content for the ones for whom you reduce the subscription.
True.
So
The audience is very most important. You need to understand who it is.
it is India, and only India that makes hit films. If you are going to make films for the few,
Yeah.
you will make just few.
Well, this is not going to be for the few. This is for the many. The few that miss out, your bad luck. But it will come out somewhere else as well. I think this 2022 is going to be an acid test and a litmus test for the entire Hindi film industry. And it's not like these cycles haven't happened in the other industries as well. It's just a question of how long you've been watching cinema. You've been watching long enough, it's just a little drop in the ocean. So don't worry, we'll all be back. So thank you so much for joining us. Take care. And like I said, thank you so much for this entire crew.
Thank you.
It really was a pleasure to have you all.
Thank you very much. Great interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.